Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is lesson 149. This is in my journey of target research, continues team by team, positional analysis. I would start with lesson 142 if you would. All these lessons, I think, are needed to set the table to try to get leverage on looking at the big question, vacated targets. I just have a feeling that it's not simple and it may not be solvable right now by methodology I'm doing. That's part of research is sometimes you don't end up where you want to be. But anyway, I'm trying. This is my first attempt to go through that question. I've done some tangential work years ago on players changing teams, whether they were like an RB1, WR1, that kind of thing, versus a lesser uh, uh, rank. And did that make any difference in the next year? In other words, if they were an RB1, did they continue that kind of thing? So I did have some journey there. I probably should get around to throwing that out, but that's something I had in my textbook that I don't think it's available anymore on Amazon. I pulled it, I think, years ago. Basically, nobody wanted a 2,000-page data tome here. Very few people want to chop wood. They just want the goodies now. So to me, these video lessons are strictly for those who are trying to get a little deeper than a draft cheat sheet plus a six-pack of beer before your draft, that kind of thing. So it's for those who are interested in the little bit deeper metrics and questions and things. But it is out there. I probably, like I said, do need to look at that a little bit. But I haven't directly looked at vacated targets, at least the way I think some define it. And again, how people define terms in fantasy is another issue. How so-called experts claim they're experts. We have an expert problem in fantasy. Sports informatics, and you can read that article. So there's lots of uncertainty out there. Not before we just get in and try to beat the game, which is hard enough, but the surrounding uncertainty about some of these things that we think should be easy or seem to be simple and maybe are not. And I'm warning you that once you get into system level work, second, third order effects, things really get complex quickly, and effects and understanding is probably not very simple. We as humans we don't deal well with second, third order effects of multi interactions. We came up with pretty much simple first order things, certainly our ancestors did. So we're starting to be trying to look at things in a systems way, and that is very dramatic. And I've done some work on principal component analysis and some things. Those, it feels like you're getting kind of the shadow of the problem, but not really the problem. That's kind of how I feel in this whole trying to understand fantasy sports and fantasy football. Is it's kind of like, seems a little bit more nebulous we think it's simple, and I don't think it is. There's nothing that I've seen that makes it simplistic, and I think many have are challenged by that, and they either ignore it, they don't put any time into it, or well, it's all luck, and it's too much work, whatever. Okay, so we're at the last 8 teams. I wanted to just look kind of at changes over kind of a year to year, because when you're talking about vacated targets, you're really talking about something that happened probably a year before. A player was on the roster, and then supposedly this year they're not there anymore. So there's a prediction as to what happens to their targets. And I think one needs to just understand the normal variation team positional year by year. It's not like everything is static and something very dramatic happens when players leave. That would make it much more simple. But there's so much second, third order effects, there's so much variation. How do we know vacated targets, if things are changing, is vacated targets or just normal variation or other sources of variation maybe we hadn't even thought about? Okay, so again, it's not that simple here, and you won't see a lot of this because it is complex on the Twitter, because that doesn't sell. That doesn't make you want to click the link there versus here's exactly what's going to happen link. Player X is going to be this. Oh, okay. And usually the only people click on it already think that anyway, and just want to read something that confirms their confirmation bias. So this is not anything like that. In fact, when I did this work here, I don't even remember what I found initially, because I was just making figures and putting them in PowerPoint trying to set this up. So I don't know the end result of some of this. So you're getting to be with me as I kind of review what I generated. And so what you're going to see is initial reaction. I mean, if this really inspires you, I would definitely go back and look at this multiple times to see, and listen to me, because I may have missed something, and maybe, you can find a nugget there, and that would be great. And I hope I help you out. Okay, let's move. We're going to hit these 8 teams here, and let's start with the Jets here. Again, this is the last 8 teams, so I've had 3 lessons before. So I think I explained it a little bit better. And I start just kind of shortcutting to what I want to talk about in here. But quickly, the top part is the team, the position, the year. The numbers are the targets. I did a colorization from high to low. And then, of course, there's the totals. And 21 diff means what changed in 2021 versus 2020. Then the next team position, some of the 9 years of targets total, and the breakdown of the target distribution. So what has the team been in the last 9 years? Below that, to the left, is the ADP, the player, the position, the team. And you can see the relationship of the players, what the public is thinking. And to me, that allows me to play off what I'm seeing and thinking about. And then this bar graph is just a visual representation of the table above. So if you like to kind of look at, kind of a flowing trend concept, this figure shows that, wide receivers and the green, and then the red line with the orange diamonds are the RBs, and then the purple with blue boxes are the tight ends, and you can see the yearly variation. And you can see right away that nothing is static. Nothing in any team is static. So right away, when you're trying to guess vacated targets, how do you pull that together with so much variation occurring, maybe without any kind of major player coming or going? I mean, I know there are rookies added, but we're talking vacated target meant they weren't there last year. An added rookie, right, could change the year, but, you know, once they're there, they're there. And so anyway, there's a lot of variation. So how does one tease out any vacated target concept, you know, that somehow a player that was good is gone and their targets are either distributed to the other of that position, distributed to other players in other positions, or those targets are lost, right? I guess there's three kind of models, and there's probably then the fourth model is some type of, you know, splitting of the targets, a little bit here, a little bit there kind of thing. So that would probably make it even more hard to figure out. And I think people are hoping to say, oh, person had 100 targets last year, so this year they're gone. So this year, all those 100 targets will go to, you know, the second wide receiver, you know, or the second or third, say split. How do you know what the split is? You see, and then right away you start, well, how do they know it's to the wide? That's the whole point. And that's why there's this idea, this concept, but I'm not sure it's going to be. Not sure you're able to pull. It's kind of like muddy water. You stick your hand in there and you're pulling things out, pulling a fish or piece of treasure or whatever out. I mean, what are you pulling out there? I don't know. You'll find out when you find out. So anyway, that's kind of the conundrum that I see in this. And when we're talking multiple players, positions, and year to year, and position variation, it's a lot, I think, to work through to see, is there any so-called vacated target effect, good or bad? And you know, I'm trying to get a handle on that by this. Okay, so Jets 2021 plus 90 total. So I usually just like to look at the differences here. And 30 for the RBs, 15 more for the tight ends, and 45 more targets for the wide receivers. And you're thinking, well, what is significant? I hadn't hit this before. 30 targets over 17 weeks. Was that 2 PPR points? So I understand there could be some yardage there. But, you know, again, how big of effect is that? You know, what is a significant effect? You know, I've done box and whisker analysis, and you can see kind of populations, and you can see extremes, and it's probably not as high as you think that will be, you know, significant. And you can go and look at those lessons too. Started at 142, lesson 142. So historically, the Jets love their running backs, 22%. It's a little higher. They don't like their tight ends at all. Look at that. 14% is sucky. Probably one of the worst in the league over 9 years. So, you know, every year there's always a tight end, but yet nothing ever seems to really happen. It's been a long time since we had some nice targets. Last year was 77, and I don't know. Does that really change things versus other tight ends and teams? I would say probably not. I didn't even track the tight ends down here in the ADPs. Passing is something the Jets have done. 64 is pretty high compared. It's probably close to norm is around 59, 60%. So it's a little higher. And it's 372. It's been the third best in 9 years. So there's kind of the cycling back there a little bit. So that is kind of exciting for the wide receivers. And I think, as the public is seeing that and they're latching on to, looks like Elijah Moore, for instance, at 74. And then the deep plays are Wilson and Davis. And I'm picking up Davis as like in best ball, probably the last, bull out of the gate, as it were. I think he's worth 211. I just think there's more upside than downside there, especially if you get him as a 7 or so. He could be a 5, and you're saying, well, does that really matter? Well, I don't know how else to build a team but one brick at a time. So if I can find, 3 or 4 players with nice value, you want to think you're going to end up doing better than you just kind of punt those last picks there. The running backs, Breece Hall's the new hot thing at 75. Michael Carter was the dog last year at 87. So the public, I think, is saying Breece Hall, but they realize Carter is going to be in there. It almost looks like a 1A, 1B kind of scenario. So I'm not sure what people think are going to happen. I would even suggest in redraft people might be overdrafting Hall because he may not come into play later. I definitely would have him at least my 3 or 4 because I'm not sure early on, what we're going to get. Carter may take the reps early and then Hall could take over the backfield. But, and if he starts slow, I could see some teams dropping him or trying to trade out from him because of their, disappointment. So that's something I would watch, certainly the waiver wire, because he may be more of a back end season winner there for you. So, but right now it looks like the public's a little hard at picking the two there. That's pretty close. And they did gain plus 30 with Carter. So, there is some expectation, and I think that's why the confusion, because the public can't, just ignore what happened last year. There was some, streakiness and some goodness that Carter delivered. So I'm probably taking, if I'm investing, I'm taking Carter and letting others grab Hall and hopefully maybe even over paying for him here. And I would love to see Carter fall in later than 87. Zach Wilson, the quarterback, maybe is a bargain at 230 just because there were a lot of wide receiver and RB targets there. So one might think he's going to improve. Don't know, but he may be definitely in a super flex. He should be in your conversation, but I'm not sure in a one quarterback, is he somebody I want, especially early on here. He may be somebody that's not drafted and maybe gets hot and you pick him up for a bye week play or something. So that's how I think I would play that. What else? I think that's it. I think that's all I want to say. I mean, there's some other things I think you could say. Let's move. Philadelphia. So Philadelphia had some down last year, down year. Look at that, minus 94 total. The RBs were pretty much about the same. Plus 9 is pretty much no change. Uh, they lost to Ertz, and I think Goddard, I don't know if that just knocked the rhythm off there, or Jalen was having to run so much. He was a running quarterback there, Mr. Run, and maybe that hurt Goddard as well. But the Philadelphia historically loves its tight ends. I mean, look at that, 29% over 9 years. Last year was the second worst year. So you want to hope maybe they have a little bit more chemistry with Goddard. So Goddard is somebody I'm definitely picking up late in my tight end one streamer kind of play if I don't get, a good tight end there. So at 76, I'm not trying to pick him up at that price, but, love to get a bargain on him. But I think he's definitely playable here, even if there was a decline last year. Wide receivers dropped. Devonta Smith, was the play. Dropped 54. Nobody else was around there. They did bring in A.J. Brown. So the public says, Devonta, you got another year or two to make something. So it looks like they're betting on a 2 and a WR2 is Brown and a WR3-4 is Smith. Given the rushing, I'm not sure I'm picking them up at price. I would love either one at a bargain. So I'm sure B and everybody else would as well. Okay. The running backs, Sanders at 61 pretty much seems to be the show. I will say Gainwell did pretty good with targets last year as well. And Boston Scott is a freebie. And so I could see, one of those, especially if Sanders doesn't, he gets injured or doesn't produce, I could see, him losing snaps to, Gainwell gets to be the pass catcher. So in PPR, I'm putting Gainwell on my radar there, and Scott is just a freebie and best ball for you, I think, at that point. Hurst at 67. If you think he can keep that rushing going, then it's probably worth that. But I'm concerned that the defenses will be able to play that. And I think that's why they bought Brown in, to try to keep the defenses guessing as to what's going on. So that may balance him out. So, he could be a QB1, late QB1. And I think I could roll with him in one quarterback just because of that potential. But I'd have to wait and see, how the board looks there. The Superflex, of course, he's definitely in play there. Okay, what else? Let's see. Only thing I say historically is wide receivers at Philadelphia at 50 is sucky. 50% target distribution is low, and that continues to worry me about Smith for sure. Brown may get his, but I don't think you're going to get a bargain. 29 seems like his ceiling in this situation. So I'm not sure I would take him early, but if he drops, okay. But I'm not looking to grab him, reaching for him. Pittsburgh's new quarterback, Trubinsky, coming in at 195. Public is yawning at him there. So we'll see what that means. Historically, Pittsburgh with Ben is all about that passing ball, so let me tell you. And they have not really passed heavily to the RBs and the tight ends. I will say that with Harris there, he got 28 more targets generated. There was a lot of rushing there. He's probably worth his price. I don't think he's going to give you any more than the 7th best, but he's definitely worth that if you happen to be able to draw him 7th or 8th this year. I wouldn't reach for him, but I wouldn't ignore him either in a PPR league. Tight ends, Freiermuth, the scenario is he's going to get better, etc. And they did pick up 13 targets, which is, what, an extra target a week or something. So it's But 124 is, almost the highest in 9 years. So that gives you some hope that he does improve. But he would be the kind that I would pick him up with another one and another tight end and do a streaming kind of thing between the two. That's about the only way I think I'd pick him up. Is if I missed out on the top dogs, then I would, I'd have to pair him. I'd have to draw two tight ends and mix and match them there. So if you think that sounds reasonable, you might look at the strength of schedule, and I'm going to have that out later. And plan your streaming options. I probably need to do an article just to kind of get some of the obvious streamers that would work with people like Freiermuth there. So I know there's other sites that have that data as well. So, if you're drafting now, I would go find those. Okay, passing. There's the controversy. Deontay Johnson at 41. The public is thinking he's going to be a 2. And they're thinking, okay, yeah. I think he has high uncertainty. If I'm doing a high RB draft and I'm getting 2 RBs early, I could see him being one of these WRs that's there in the 3rd, 4th round and maybe worth a stab if you want to anchor running backs. Okay. As a 0 RB play, there's others out there. So it just depends on your strategy. Claypool is the mystery. People thinking he's a 4. And Pickens is a free square late. I don't know. Good luck on that one. I think there's other free squares. So Poole is interesting to me, but given Mitch is the quarterback, nothing there really inspires me to take him or not take him at 108. I think I would definitely want a round bargain there. He could be a 4 that I would try to draft like a 5. So that's how I would play him. Johnson would be a 2 I would love to grab as my 3. Harris is probably, you would think, safe. He could be the only game in town. He's got some youth, and you figure he's going to get a heavy workload, and but just down the road, remember, that if you're a dynasty player, he may be okay now, but he may, fold up later if he gets too much use because Travinsky can't do anything. So it's really going to be interesting, the chemistry there on how this works out. I could see this as a train wreck, or I could see them surprising a little bit. The range of outcomes is pretty wide here. So I would draft cautiously anybody other than Harris, and I think he is what you think he is, but not anything more. Okay. Seattle, who is going to be the quarterback? Are they going to, grab somebody, Geno Smith? I don't know, Drew Lock. I didn't know which one to put down, so I just didn't worry about it. I think he could be a cluster there. Last year with Wilson, everybody's saying Wilson's going to help Denver. All I can say is under Wilson, we lost 67 targets in Seattle. It was all train wreck all the time except for passing to the wide receivers because of Metcalf. So historically, Seattle's RBs have been more rushers than pass catchers at 17. Tight ends have been bleh, 20, and it's been the Lockett Metcalf show a couple years, but there was a decline there. So let's talk about the RBs. Everybody's banking on Penny, but he's at 70. And Walker's the mystery player. And Carson with the injuries, notice he's almost as good as Walker. So I guess if you grab Penny, you've got to invest in one of these as the handcuff. Because, Penny had some rough couple years. Go back and review his early years. He wasn't on the field a lot, had injuries, and, I think to me, he's still uncertain, and he looks like a 2 to me with uncertainty. And so I think if I'm going to invest, I would definitely have to have a couple of those, and I'm not sure that's worth your play unless you're doing a 0 RB kind of draft, then maybe that's where your hand is forced here at that point. Fant comes over from Denver. I guess if Locke gets in there, Fant had a pretty good time under Locke. I guess his 156 may be a bargain. I don't say bargain much. Could be a bargain if Locke wins the competition. And Fant could surprise everybody. He could be a strong late tight end 1 type. So he's on my radar. I hope everybody's kind of down on him. And I would definitely pick him up as my tight end 2 type. And, hope that Locke wins the thing. Metcalf at 37 and Lockett at 90. So it's about a little bit, half, 2.5 ratio from Metcalf. Lockett's going to give you 5 or 6 great games, but he's going to be very inconsistent. So he should be your 4. He's a good 4 if you can pick the weeks to start him. Metcalf is probably a late 2 given the uncertainty. If we had Wilson there, he'd be a late 1. So it costs you at least a round. I think if you're doing a strong RB run, first couple picks, round 3, 4, Metcalf could be there. In the 3rd round, it's 37, so that's close to, 3rd round. He could be somebody you could try to pick up, him and Deontay Johnson from, Pittsburgh. I could see that as a tandem. One of them may work. So that may be how you want to play that. Just depends on how your draft's shaping out. To me, the most interesting is Fant if Locke wins the quarterback. If Smith, I don't know enough to guess on that. Okay, what else? Changes, a lot of uncertainty. I'm not reaching for anybody other than maybe Fant if we get the signal that Locke is going to be the starter anyway. He may not last, but, you may get some weeks out of Fant. Fant would not be my first, but he could be a tight end too. San Francisco, historically, it's been a little low on the RB pass catching. They've all been about the tight end. And the wide receivers have been 55. That's a little low, and so not so strong. So they've kind of been a one-trick pony with the tight ends, especially with Kittle. But last year was minus 92 targets, folks. That was a sad year. And that's why Jimmy G just didn't do it for them. But Trey Lance, 107. I'm not drafting him. and you know, he's going to have to prove it to me, and you know, I may miss out on the hot thing, but I want to be convinced. I'm not looking to draft him. Mitchell, I think, is definitely your 2-3 type. Definitely, you know, if you can draft him as a 3, great. At 39, that's close to the 4th round, kind of mid-third. So he could be worth it. If you're doing kind of a RB, he could be your second RB if you have a real strong anchor RB there. I could see that. Trey Sermon at 145 and Davis Price is just a crapshoot. He's on, you know, injury, handcuff. See what happens later in the season. If, you know, Frisco's out of it, he could be somebody you might put in a place. They may try him out. Kittle, even though dropped to 32 targets because of Jimmy G, he's at 36, so he's probably your 4th, 5th. So him and Waller are probably right there together. I'm probably passing. I'm going Kelsey, probably Pitts, probably Andrews, and then if I can't grab those, I'm probably skipping on Kittle and letting you take him. Debo should have the show to himself. And at 20, he's definitely, you know, if you're doing 0 RB, he could be your WR2 there in that kind of draft scenario. And I think I could be happy there. You know, hopefully the contract, everything works out. It's kind of like who else they're going to throw it to. But I think that's still close to a ceiling. Ayuk is interesting to me, and I am picking him up close to his price because I just think he's a good wide receiver handcuff, and that, you know, in case Samuel gets hurt or something. Samuel keep trying to use him as a running back. You know, every time he gets that running back ball, that's, you know, there goes a leg or something. Then Ayuk could be the last man standing and could inherit a nice role, you know, if that happens. So I think he's a WR2 4 type that with the upside. Everybody talks about that. I hadn't said that much if you go back and listen. But I'm definitely taking him where I can near his price. What else? A lot of range of outcomes here. Pretty high for me. Tampa Bay, Brady's back one more time, plus 91 last year. All the positions went up in targets. Historically, it's all about Brady's passing. Gronk says he's never playing again, so does that leave Brate? Brate is a free square, so if Gronk really doesn't play, then I'd really think Brate or O.J. Howard are the plays there and worth your TE2s all day long. Take one of them, probably Brate. Running, I think Fournette is at 30. He's a great RB2 type. You know, all day long. I think he will deliver there. And Rachaad White and is at 160. He's just a handcuff kind of play. Evans should be a WR1 possibility, so he's worth his play at 25. Yep, I would pay that price for him. Godwin, I would like to let him drop a little bit because he could, you know, get healed up, you know, wait to see. Right now we're waiting. Is he going to start? Is he going to start on the PUP list? Everybody's wondering. So everybody's thinking Gage is going to do something. You know, I think Gage is the kind that if Godwin doesn't start and you drafted Gage, you use him and then get rid of him before Godwin come back. Trade away while he has a spectacular time. You know, make hay while the sun shines if you got Gage. What else? Brady at 99, I think he has an opportunity to be lots of passing touchdowns, and he'll make his, and so he is a nice late quarterback target, and I have picked him up, and I have no problem picking him up as my first quarterback in a quarterback one. People forget. I don't care how old he is. That they have they're bringing him back. They're doing everything they can to go be going back to the Super Bowl one last time. Okay, everything I see is going up last couple of years. So with Brady, I think everything seems to be go with him. So definitely he's your QB1 late. Fournette's his price is good. Mike Evans, his price is good. Godwin, if you've got a little slack, if you've got, he's be a great WR3. I'm not sure he'd be my WR2, folks. And Gage, if I pick him as my WR5, okay. But just get ready to jettison him if Godwin comes in later. So that's kind of how I look at that. Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill. I guess they forget that Tannehill did fairly good last year, and he's probably a strong QB2 type. Maybe QB1 late. If you miss out on Brady, I don't know. He'd be somebody I'd want to take to stream. They went up 94, but their tight ends were really weak last year. Things just did not come together for them, losing Cook to New England. So they went RB Henry, of course, and then WR with Brown, and then he's gone, and tight end's gone. So historically, they've loved their tight end and been about average, a little bit below average WR, and they really haven't used pass catching RBs in 9 years. So I don't think anything's going to change there. Henry's Henry. He should be safe at 5. Okay. It's another year. You always wonder, does age, creep up on him? But not looking to reach for him, but I'm not turning away either. Hooper is a free square and might be worth a TE2-3 type, especially in a tight end premium league. He could be my third tight end all day long, maybe with Brate. Woods was injured. He's at 81. 6th round. He could be a good WR4, 3 maybe. I'm not sure what his ceiling is, but I think that seems like an okay price. I would love to take you as my 4. Traylon Burks, I don't know. What do y'all think? I mean, Ryan Tannehill's not the big passing guy, so that may hurt this guy. I'm not drafting him, but if you wanted to, I guess as your 5 or 6, I guess I wouldn't complain. To me, Hooper looks like a bargain. Tannehill could be a nice streaming quarterback for you, and Henry looks solid. And Woods is probably worth his price, WR3, but I'd like to take him as a 4. Anything else? I think that's it. Washington, my last team. Gone through all of them now. Historically, they've been about average RBs, a little bit nicely with the tight ends, 22, close to average on WR. So kind of nondescript team, a little bit of a even distribution here. But last year they dropped 37. Scary Terry made them, competitive there. And Gibson was the rushing guy. So pass catching, McKissick is the pass catching type, and at 115 seems to be a good play. Gibson, I would like to have both of them. If I grab Gibson, I think I want McKissic just for a lot of reasons. 34, so he is RB2 type material, so you could grab an anchor, come back in the second round, and maybe grab a Pitts or Andrews, and then come back with Gibson, have an RB tight end RB or a good WR. That seems logical there. He won't be around in the 0 RB. McKissic will, but not Gibson. Thomas, he's good when he's on the field, and at 135 seems about a good price. Not reaching for him, but I'll take him as my second, especially in a tight end premium, but assuming he's not going to play maybe 10 games or something. Terry McLaurin, close to the end of round 4, seems like a great 2-3 type, seems solid. Go for it. Dodson's a free square. If you're feeling lucky, you're feeling like, passing is going to be great in Washington this year, grabbing, but I don't have him in my teams yet. I've drafted McLaurin, Thomas, McKissic, and Gibson. So everything seems to be fine there. I'm not sure what bargains. McKissic has been a bargain, and Thomas has been a bargain for me. Okay, guys, I finished up, and now you can look at the variation, team to team, position by position, year to year. Lots of variation to try to call vacated targets. So I've got some more different research on all this, another lens to look at coming. I've got a couple more lessons, and then I think I'm going to go to the player level and see if there's any way to predict vacated targets. It's coming, but we have to set the table first. Woo woo, we're having fun.